Hello, everybody. My name is Mary Stern. I'm a physiotherapist. I work in North Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I am the owner of Blue Ridge Physio in North Vancouver. I love it here, but I also love to connect with people from all over the world. So if you do need some insight, consultation in how to help your parents stay in the home, I may not be able to speak to more of that public health specific information in other districts. But when it comes to the body mechanics and the most important functional things that our seniors, our loved ones need to be able to do at home in safety, I would absolutely love to help. I do offer home visits here on the North Shore. Sometimes that's really helpful, but we can also do that through telehealth if there's a family member that's helping to facilitate it. So, with that said, I want to talk about the most important things that we can consider in order to keep our loved ones in the home. I feel like there's a better understanding of that in the world now, of the importance of actually keeping our parents in the home. I don't want to assume that everybody who's watching this thinks that that is necessarily a given. So I want to speak to that a little bit. Why is it helpful to keep our parents in the home? The first reason that I'll talk about is some dementia that typically, not typically, but that develops kind of under the radar, and then we kind of realize these things that are forgotten, and there's little bits of, let's say, kind of an impediment to our loved ones, our mothers, our fathers, their independence, are that come and become shed into the light, and with that, staying in the home is an opportunity to have a consistent space, a consistent environment, a soothing environment, an environment where that person feels empowered and feels like themselves. And so it is really wonderful for that emotional, psychological, and also physical health, as long as there isn't another impediment to their physical health within the environment that they live in. The physical health component can be an aspect. And so then keeping them in the home can be really valuable. Now, it's not for everyone, and certainly I'm not here to say that it's not ever important to get more help, whether that's help in the home or help in an assisted living facility. There are some wonderful assisted living facilities and some wonderful social opportunities there as well. But if you are someone who has aging parents and you're looking at, okay, well, what are our next steps, and what are those red flags for us where we have to look at getting my parent, getting mom, getting dad a little bit more help, maybe a kinesiologist, maybe a physiotherapist, to make sure that they are not falling, that they can get up from their chair, that they can toilet and go to the washroom with independence, or at least a greater sense of ease, so that they feel dignified in their sunset years. Then this video is for you, and I would love to help you. You can connect with me. In the notes, I'll put my email there, as well as a website for booking directly. So if you are in the North Shore, or you'd like to book a tele-rehab session or teleconsult, then by all means connect with me. But I want to talk about a few key things. So one of the most important things, and for context, I'll let you know that I was in a transitional care unit in a hospital. Transitional care unit is kind of like long form to say, actually there was a much longer title, but I'll save you from hearing that because it was way too long. But it's kind of basically saying, the people that come into this unit, as a physiotherapist, am I going to help them to either get home, or is it imperative that they go to an assisted living facility, or in more cases than not, a long-term care facility? So I am kind of looking from the lens of, can this person be independent? So working there for 2 years, I have a lot of aha moments, a lot of insight. And so I want to share a little bit of that with you, because I think it's so important. I'm not sure how often you hear it. And hearing it, I feel like it just will empower you as a daughter, as a son, or a niece or a nephew, to take some action that could lead to just more years of happiness, more years of longevity and health in general. So I'm going to start by talking about the importance of being able to get up from a chair in a healthy and stable way. So if you are with your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa at home, and you notice that when they get up from the chair, it is a struggle. So maybe they're up like this, or maybe they're grabbing hold of the desk in front, or maybe they're kind of coming back. Maybe they reach and they kind of stumble. If you notice that's the case, and yet they're still able to get up, and you have the confidence that they want to get up and they want to stay independent, then this is a really important juncture to involve a physiotherapist. Why? Because we can determine, is that partially related to mobility of the ankles, mobility of the hips. If there's stiffness there, it may not be that they don't have that strength, but the foot position is such in a way that you're actually combating a little bit more to get upright. Now, there might be strength issues involved, and it might be related to their lifestyle, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, what their environment looks like. And so we'll look at that from a holistic perspective and see how can we incorporate a little bit of strengthening into the day in a way that's not going to make them feel like, oh, this is not fun and how I want to live out my years, in a way that's actually empowering. So the strength and the ability to get up from sitting to standing is so important. Now, once they're standing, what is that balance like? So we have different strategies to keep our balance. We have an ankle strategy. So typically as younger people, if I get you to balance on one foot, I'm going to see the ankle go like this. I'm going to see the hip stabilize, of course, as well. But if you're swaying, and if you get an external protuberance, so if I like smack you on the side of the back, which obviously I would never do, but if I did that, you probably would use your ankle to stabilize if it wasn't too hard, and that would work. And so this is something that we can actually train in people who maybe have not been using it so much. Of course, I'm not going to get your parent, your mom, your dad, your grandpa to necessarily stand on one leg or one foot in front of the other, using the muscles of the hips, using the muscles of the inner thighs, and then working those ankles. We are working those neural patterns that help us with proprioception, so knowing where we are in space, and that becomes a protective mechanism, so that if they are walking down the hall and a dog comes or a toddler comes, or maybe they're dizzy, we're not going to get into vestibular, which is that dizzy mechanism at this moment, but that is another thing that I do specialize in that can become an important factor to assess. And so please connect with me via my information in the description, and I would be happy to look into that for you. That said, these strength issues can absolutely be improved and increased so that your parent is not falling, because we do know that once there is a fall, if there's a risk for hip fracture, when someone does go into the hospital and then spends a week or two recovering, the likelihood of independence and being able to stay in their home decreases significantly. So we do want to avoid falls for obvious reasons. We don't want people to fall, to hurt, to have to recover, but also because it has such a strong correlation to having to go in a care home after, which is, if our parents do not want to do, something that we really want to mitigate. So that is really important. So sit to stand, balance I've talked about. Other things that can become really helpful are related to mobility. So we do know that osteoarthritis is very common. Some people are quite stiff. Some people have pain. And if your parents have osteoarthritis and are suffering from that, and find that it's difficult to open and close the hands, find that it's difficult to straighten the legs, then it's important to get them into a program that they can do throughout the day as they're watching TV, of actually mobilizing those joints. So understanding that lubricating those joints through movement is really healthy, really protective, gets the muscles activated so that they're feeling less pain, and that this can actually rejuvenate the body. So just because our seniors are seniors and in their sunset years does not mean that they're not resilient and that the body cannot continue to heal itself. And through the dynamic stability, moving those muscles, you can't see me right now, but I'm moving my leg with enthusiasm right now, is so protective and can help to empower your parents to know that, you know what, I can always get stronger. Osteoporosis is another important one to consider. So if you have a frail elderly family member, and knowing that things like that, bending forward in the gardening is a common one, where you're twisting and you're squeezing, and you're trying to pick up something heavy, that can be something that would create an issue in the bones potentially. And I don't like to say this too often because I don't want to scare people, but compression fractures can happen for people that have low bone density. So if you don't know whether or not your loved ones who are elderly have low bone density, do find that information out through your family physician. You can get bone density scan for elderly. There is obviously a high correlation with elderly, so it's particular if your parent is frail. And then strengthening the extensors in their back. There's programs that you can do, and there's just subtle things that you can do that a physiotherapist can guide you in. If you're here, please come see me. Otherwise, you can talk about this condition with your physiotherapist, and they can guide you accordingly to prevent compression fractures, because that can really lead to further dismobility, having to be in a wheelchair. So there's so many things that I can talk about here, but those are, for me, some of the most important things. And I would love to hear your comments, your questions, anything that you're wondering about. And please like and subscribe so we can continue to connect, but also feel free to connect with me directly. I'm very passionate about working with all types of individuals through physiotherapy, and I would love to connect with you. Thank you so much.